Some Australian animals are alive today only because conservationists refused to accept extinction as inevitable. But brought back from the brink does not mean safe. Every species in this video still needs long-term protection. Their recoveries combine habitat protection, control of introduced predators, careful breeding, translocation, and years of monitoring. The mainland eastern barred bandicoot once lived across the grassy plains of southwestern Victoria, but foxes, cats, and habitat loss caused a devastating collapse. By 1989, only around 150 remained. The last wild mainland population eventually disappeared, and in 2013, the animal was declared extinct in the wild. A coordinated recovery team bred bandicoots and established populations in secure fenced reserves and on fox-free islands, where introduced predators could not erase the gains. In 2021, Victoria reclassified the species from extinct in the wild to endangered, the first Australian threatened species to make that extraordinary step. By the early 1980s, the northern hairy-nosed wombat had been reduced to about 35 animals in a single population at Epping Forest in Queensland. Predator-proof fencing, habitat management, water, drought support, genetic monitoring, and detailed population surveys helped protect the last stronghold. The 2022 census estimated about 400 wombats at Epping Forest, a remarkable increase for a slow-breeding animal that had come so close to extinction. New colonies at Richard, Underwood Nature Refuge, and Powell Runner State Forest now spread the risk across 3 Queensland locations, although the species remains critically endangered. The bridled nail-tail wallaby was believed extinct for more than 30 years, until a fencing contractor reported survivors in central Queensland in 1973. Protection at Taunton National Park, especially sustained control of feral cats and foxes, allowed the last naturally occurring wild population to rebuild. Queensland now estimates roughly 1,500 wallabies at Taunton. Every surviving population elsewhere traces back to animals from this recovered stronghold. Translocated populations in Queensland and New South Wales, including large predator-free sanctuaries, are returning the species to parts of its former range. The western swamp tortoise was feared extinct for more than a century before a schoolboy found one on a Swan Valley road in 1953. By the 1980s, fewer than 30 remained in the wild. Its shallow winter swamps had been cleared, fragmented, and altered around Perth's expanding suburbs. Perth Zoo began breeding the species in 1989. By June 2024, more than 1,300 tortoises had been bred, and 1,125 released into managed habitat. Because drying winters threaten its swamps, conservationists are also testing cooler, wetter release sites beyond the historic range, a carefully monitored response to climate change. After ship rats reached Lord Howe Island in 1918, its enormous flightless stick insect disappeared and was presumed extinct for decades. In 2001, climbers found live insects on Ball's Pyramid, a steep volcanic outcrop more than 20 kilometers from Lord Howe Island. 2 breeding pairs collected in 2003 founded a carefully managed captive program. Their descendants created insurance populations in Australia and overseas. The species escaped apparent extinction, but the wild population remains confined to a precarious site. Captive colonies protect it, while plans for long-term recovery continue. By 1989, the helmeted honeyeater was close to disappearing. A recovery and conservation breeding program began at Healesville Sanctuary that same year. Captive-bred birds reinforce wild colonies and help establish new ones. Each release is followed by monitoring, supplementary feeding, and careful genetic management. Breeding alone cannot save the bird. Its dense streamside habitat must also be restored, connected and protected from fire, weeds, and further degradation. Fewer than 250 helmeted honeyeaters remain. The population is larger than at its lowest point, but it still depends on intensive conservation and new secure habitat. Every comeback required people to remove threats, protect habitat, manage genetics, and keep working long after the first encouraging result. These animals prove that extinction can sometimes be stopped, but only when action begins before the final population is lost. Their survival is a victory for science, communities, and persistence. It is also a promise that the work will continue.